Kevin Miller, Executive Director, Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission.
When you look at, you had this type of level of funding, and now you're at this type of level of funding, that gap means you can't keep doing the same things that you were doing previously. But now, because employment outcomes are even more difficult to get to, and maybe because individuals who we're dealing with are more significantly disabled, customized employment seems to make a great deal of strides with individuals.
Systems change and customized employment. Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission, generating outcomes. In 2010, the Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission launched a customized employment systems change project designed to develop, demonstrate, and support the phased implementation of a financially, technically, and programmatically viable approach to community employment of choice for Ohioans with disabilities. Patty Cassidy, Senior Associate, Griffin Hammis Associates, Stephen Webster's Woodshop.
My role has been to provide training, technical assistance to one of the demonstration sites at Butler County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And we went about this in a really unique approach. Individuals with disabilities were to select their own vendor, and we want that to happen throughout all of our systems. Customized employment is different from traditional practices of employment. And there was not a lot of strong supported employment service delivery in the area. One of the individuals does do that, and she was the one I think that has had the most success in that she was able to translate some of her current practices easily into customized outcomes.
Carol Buckner, Principal, Buckner Employment Service and Training.
Ever since he was a small child, the hammering has been something that he just really enjoyed. When you match up a job coach or someone that comes in to do the training, helping, is that they have the same interest. So I found a gentleman that is retired from the Air Force, and he loves to make things and build things. So him and Stephen kind of came together, and then they designed this wishing well. So that was our first product, is Wishing Well.
Brian Gerlach, Job Coach, Buckner Employment Service and Training.
Basically what my job is a job coach to work with Stephen to build his woodcraft products. One of the first questions I had was, does he make anything? And his mother answered to me, no, he's never really built anything. So I was just finishing up a little wood project of my own, finishing my basement. So we took those wood scraps, and the wishing well concept came from that, just scraps of wood that Stephen and I put together and gave it to his mom for Mother's Day. Well, to build the base now, what we do is we first purchase quite a few 2x4s, cut them in 6-inch blocks, and then put them in a circular pattern of about 3 foot or so. And we just hammer them on top of one another for several hours, and once we're through with that, then we can go ahead and make our uprights. Can you show them the uprights? That's the roof, the uprights. We make our uprights, and then we cut the lumber to make the roof with. We screw and nail those together and attach them, and before you know it, we have a nice little wishing well that someone can come and purchase. At the beginning, he was very, very proficient with his hammering, which he still is. We worked a little bit with using a screw gun, and he's getting a whole lot more proficient with that. But what I'm most impressed with is that he actually likes to use the power saws. And he has his own circular saw that he uses to cut up the 2x4s. At first I would do the cutting and he would hold the boards. Now he does all the cutting and I hold the boards.
He just moved into Midtown Cabinets, which was another partnership in the community.
A business within a business results when a job seeker has specific talents, skills, and tangible resources to develop a profitable micro-business, launched and located within another business.
Okay, another product that Stephen's Woodshop is now producing is the Bat House, which was a conception from Carol Buckner and his mother Gail. And together, all of us come up with the plan of doing it. Stephen and I went ahead and cut a bunch of lumber up one day and assembled this here. We researched it, took some plywood, Took some good ideas of other people's, added our own concepts, such as the web netting down at the bottom for the bats to grab a hold of. It is actually taking off quite well.
Gail Webster, Stephen's mom.
Well, when Stephen was 4 months old, he started having seizures, and we found out that he has brain damage. He was in special education his whole life long. When Stephen was in school, one of the biggest challenges he had was focusing his attention for more than 2 minutes at a time, from the time he was in preschool till the time he graduated. And our prayer specifically for Stephen was that he would find a job in the community doing something that he loved to do. We had a big meeting and invited all of our family and friends, people who cared about Stephen and who knew him and loved him.
Jack Peeler, consultant, Griffin Hammis Associates.
I remember a session with about 10 or 15 folks from his family and his church and others where we just drew him up on the board and we drew all of his interests up on the board, and then we started just asking, well, who knows somebody who is interested in gardening or is interested in digger machines or knows something about that? Who knows somebody who is into carpentry and so forth? And you just get names and phone numbers and people start to contact him.
I think in any person's success, the social capital has got to be there. You're building their business all around the person. People know Stephen. He's gaining credibility as a business owner.
Part of the essence of this work is that we depend upon people's set of relationships to either the ones that they already have or the ones we can begin to build or grow to help them find the way toward the work that they're going to do, the business they're going to run, whatever it happens to be.
One of Stephen's passions is diggers. One Stop Tool Rental rents diggers, and so they got him there to help power wash the diggers when they come in all muddy, or cleaning up the parking lot, or straightening up the service bays, whatever they need him to do. He works there for a couple hours a week, and he absolutely loves it.
We didn't walk in and say, oh, do you have a job? We really got to know them. It was targeted that this is what he loved, and in some way we were going to incorporate that in his job.
He loves to go out with friends, with his best buddy, with his rec leisure coach, with anybody who will go and play tennis with him. He loves to shoot baskets. He loves to go to the zoo. Pretty much a lot of things that a typical 24-year-old guy would do.
Stephen Webster, entrepreneur, employee, athlete, outdoorsman. Susan Pugh, Deputy Director, Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission.
We've seen this past year through this project that several individuals that we've had in the demonstration sites who have been in our getting services in the traditional way for a very long time. We've moved into this model of service delivery, and we've really been able to achieve better results for them.
John Picar, Superintendent, Fairfield County Board of DD. Joseph A. Green, artist, entrepreneur.
Well, the mission of the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities is to bring about a vibrant community where people live fulfilling lives and make meaningful contributions. It's kind of a fine line, I think, that any organization like ours walks in terms of moving from what currently is to what we hope will be.
Randy Peters, Fairfield County DD, Customized Employment Coordinator.
We have an individual that we serve in our DD population that has been drawing pictures. He's 52 years old now. Has been drawing since he's age 4. Joe had a talent had a gift more than a talent. It was a gift that needed to be exposed beyond his family. They had hired a lady by the name of Cheryl Fay, who became the curator of a Blue Shoe Arts program, which is based upon caricatures that Joe had made that always had a blue shoe in them. Cheryl, who was also an accomplished artist, began to give Joseph tools to refine his art, refine his creation, develop different kinds of characters. Initially, he would draw Superman, Spider-Man, the traditional characters, but she was able to pull out of him his own unique style of characters that has become kind of a trademark for Joseph.
Cheryl Fay, artist, curator, Blue Shoe Arts Program.
I think his goal in life is to just make people laugh, to just have a good time. And he will have many different levels of humor in the same piece. He's so detailed in so many of his paintings that I'll have pieces that I've seen for, 3 weeks. And I'll look at it again and I'll find something new that I hadn't even seen before. So he keeps hiding all of these little things in his work.
But through the art and his expressions through the art, he became increasingly social. And being able to explain his art to folks and receive the satisfaction of others who enjoyed what he did. Within that, we began to start a business, help him formulate a business, and his family is very much involved in that business of creating original art.
Roberta Snoke, Joe's sister.
Joe is a middle child, actually the fourth in six. Joe is deaf. He was born with holes through his heart, through his eardrums. Our mother contracted measles when she was pregnant. So he was very sickly as a child, had open heart surgery, had some other damage, but the biggest thing is his deafness.
He understood that I was a professional, that I actually knew what I was doing. And from then on, he really does listen to me. I've helped him come up with some of the themes, like the nursery rhyme themes.
Our concept and our thought of disappearing into the community is that people are going to see us everywhere. People aren't just going to see us as one or two locations, but they're going to see us through the successes and the opportunities that folks that we support have. And it's like, that's what's important.
The most important accomplishments this past year has been seeing how communities have come together to solve problems and to exact change.
Randy Peters, Fairfield County DD, Customized Employment Coordinator, Papa Duck's Kettle Corn.
Had the privilege of working with a gentleman by the name of Dick. He was a retired police detective who had very significant physical injuries, ranging from heart attacks, replacement knees, back surgeries. So he and his wife decided to buy a farm. His doctor had indicated to him that he really couldn't do that kind of work. Dick is very much a people person. He enjoys being around them. And after doing the due diligence and the research, and with the help of the team that we were able to put around him, we found that the kettle corn was an opportunity.
Dick Penn, Papa Duck's Kettle Corn, and his wife, Jan Penn.
A business plan was something I'd never even thought of. And we set up and we had to figure the cost of what the material was going to cost us, samples were going to cost us, labor would cost, and you add all that back in, then you try to come up with a reasonable price. And we wanted people to buy it and try it, so we tried to price it right. We had everything I thought done, but then after we got into the business, I found there's a lot that I didn't know. But they've helped me all along the way. They've had people in there that's went out of their way to help me do different stuff.
He's very excited. He's making money. He's been at a number of festivals. And he's complimented from a support standpoint very much by his wife, Jan. She helps sell the corn that he's preparing. So they have a nice husband-wife team, and they've made this an adventure.
Okay, we make the corn. We have the oil behind it, so it stays kind of warm from back there. I take a ladle full of oil and put it in the kettle and leave it set in the bottom. Then I get my corn ready. I dip it out of a sealed container and the sugar and get it all set out and ready. Turn the gas on to the kettle, put 3 kernels of corn down into it, and that gives me an idea of when the oil's hot enough to add the corn. Then we add the corn and start stirring it and adding the sugar in with it. We mix all that till it starts popping. You have to wear a face mask, gloves, and then this heavy shirt that I have on. Anyway, after this gets done, the corn gets popped, you shut the heat down on it, continue to stir it till the rest of it quits popping. Then you have a handle on the kettle, you dump it into a bin that has little holes in it. It's a sifting bin. What it does, it takes the pieces that didn't pop and loose pieces of corn, they fall through the screens into a pan. And from there, Jan usually takes and salts the corn, stirs it all up and mixes it. You have to let it set a few minutes and then go through it again, and then you bag it and put it on the counter, and hopefully there's a guy standing there waiting to buy it as soon as you're done with it. We're going to Jackson Apple Festival. It's been, I know, 50 years because I was there when I was a kid. And it's a great festival. It's a downtown festival. It's in the streets. It's a pretty big show. We ought to do really well at it. Jan usually works the front counter and talks to the people. She has a great rapport with people. She'll take the samples out to people. They'll say, no thanks, I've tried killer corn. And she'll say, would you ever try cinnamon? No, I never did. They'll turn around and come back and get it. Next thing you know, they end up buying a bag of each from her.
I know we have a good product. And to get people to taste it is the hardest thing that you can do.
You're great with the kids, though. You can take out to the kids, and the mothers will let you give them samples and all kind of stuff. So you do a good job with the kids.
And with this equipment right here that we have, it's so nice because all of it has huge wheels on it. So no matter whether we're coming on gravels or we're coming on grass, it all rolls right out of that trailer. We can get it in there if we have to in a half an hour's time, or we'll take it out in a half an hour's time.
We got the bright idea we could farm, so this is how we ended up with this. And our next thing was to sell whatever we had. We were going to sell everything and go someplace else and do something else. This helped us stay here. It gives us something to do, and we enjoy it. We have a good time doing it. But the support and stuff I had from the people, I couldn't have done it without it.
Dan Connors, Deputy Director, Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission.
And so I think we need to look more at, as a system, what does it look like for a very natural progression, which isn't clean, it's not linear, it's not, very cookie cutter, and then how do we figure out how to make our system apply that to individuals with disabilities? And I think we'll find that some of the roadblocks we think are there actually aren't nearly as big a deal.
Pamela Schneider, Rehab Counselor, Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission. Andra Kessler's horse sitting.
My main role has been to attend the business CAT team meeting and the individual CAT team meetings. We've all worked as a team to try to figure out the themes that a consumer may be interested in and explore those themes.
And through discovery, we found that she had a fond love of horses.
Melissa Morris, Systems Manager, Goodwill Industries, Zanesville.
The M&M stables are very involved in Special Olympics, so they already understood about what we wanted to do, and they understand persons with disabilities. Andra is really involved in horses anyway. We'll just create a business for her to where she can go to someone's home on the weekend while they're gone on vacation and muck the stalls, lay hay, lunch the horses. That way the individual doesn't feel they have to take all their horses with them when they go to an event. They can leave some there and know that they're going to be cared for. Fairfield DD is Goodwill's competitor. But throughout this whole discovery process, we have bonded as a group. We've just clicked.
What I would say is the traditional stuff that you're doing now with job development, how is it working for you? How is it going to work with the more, should I say, most severely disabled individuals that we're working with now? How are we going to continue doing the same thing but expect the different results? I don't think that's humanly possible.
One process doesn't work for every individual, and somehow we try that with individuals with disabilities and say, well, clearly there's issues, to getting an individual with a disability a job, when really what we've done is taken them and put them through an artificial process. It doesn't work, and then we draw a conclusion that it must be because they just don't fit.
Diane Kolker, Employment Services Coordinator, Compass. Scott's Greenhouse.
Jim was close to 50 before he was allowed to move out of the house. He lived with his parents for that long. I think one of the conditions of him moving out on his own was that he returns every day to their home.
Jim Scott, owner. Scott's Greenhouse.
I travel to come here to the greenhouse every day. My season is usually late April, around Easter time, until I sell out, usually around 1st or 4th of July. And then I start up again in the late summer and work in the fall.
He has this greenhouse that he's had since 1982. And he likes to open it every April to like mid-July. Well, you're looking at almost 3 months. There's not going to be an employer that's going to let Jim take off for 3 months. He was passionate about his greenhouse, and it was something that he invested a great deal of time and money into, and he didn't want to give it up.
This is where I sow out of. That other greenhouse, well, that's where I work mainly, making my big pots, combination pots. I have all these beautiful flower beds. These flower beds are full of perennials. Here's a beautiful purple hyacinth vine. Busy season, spring. I'm almost always out in the greenhouse. Right here I have my shrubs, beautiful roses.
Then one day I said, you know, why don't we just open up your greenhouse for a longer span of time? Let's expand your selling season. So maybe it goes from April to November. How about we keep you employed, you know, maybe 8 months out of the year instead of only 3. We've put things into phases. The first phase was to order Jim's inventory for the fall season. All of his plants, his bulbs, anything that he needed for his inventory. Of course, we brought on the SBDC with Danny Sweet, and she's come to several team meetings, and we always hold them at Jim's home. Danny's written up the business plan. She's actually put all the inventory together. They've been an integral part. His VRP3 counselor, which is through Rehab Services, has also been an integral part of this. I would say we almost meet once a month. If customized employment would have been a way to going about doing things, I would have done that right from the get-go with Jim.
It's not okay for us to just say things are tough right now and you can't work. I think this model offers opportunities to people to see the promise of their future.
David Hammis, Senior Partner, Griffin Hammis Associates.
It tends to open the door to even the thinking about self-employment. A fair number of people with very complex disabilities, self-employment's generally not even an option on the table. So the introduction of in this project, and the results have been pretty significant in that area, that people who almost wouldn't possibly have been served in the past in any kind of self-employment arena. A large number of the outcomes that are coming out of the project already are self-employment outcomes.
Melissa Toot, Project Manager, Compass Family and Community Services. Daniel Marinucci, Employee.
Customized employment was a new concept for our agency. We've been doing job development for many years. This concept was just different in a lot of respects. Not only working with the consumers and identifying more their interests, their skills, their talents, identifying their social capital within our agency, and then we would take it to our community action team.
Corey Smith, Consultant, Griffin Hammis Associates.
The thing with discovery is we're trying to, we talk about discovering somebody's personal genius. We're trying to discover who the person is. And what we find a lot of times is people have an interest. So maybe people have 3 different interests. And sometimes these are pretty non-traditional interests than what we've dealt with before. But you don't have a theme until you take an interest and match it with some skills.
We went back to the owner and we did an informational interview where Dan was given the opportunity to ask questions, and of course I asked questions regarding the business.
Nate Miller, owner, Buckeye Classic Car Restoration.
And Melissa calls me, said she had a guy that was interested in cars. He didn't know what a 1/2-inch wrench was or a 9/16.
I approached whether he would be willing to allow Dan to do a job tryout. He was very receptive, and Dan started a 20-day job tryout.
When Dan came first day on a job, I realized that he needed a lot of work. Compass provided a job coach for Dan.
I've always had a interest in cars, like the classics. They get them back to original looking. I'm not too much into hot rods, but I always prefer like the 66 Mustang, it being restored back to its original splendor, showroom condition. This here is the sandblaster I'm frequently using. What I have to do is just reach inside. This canister I'm holding is for small parts, screws, bolts. The brake caliper would come out much cleaner than it is now. But it gets totally silver.
When Dan came to work, he didn't have any tools. The Compass Group came to us and said that when Dan was employed, they'd get us some equipment. The toolbox he's got from Seattle Tools of Canada, which is very high grade. It's aviation tools, and that's what I like to use for their precision tools. He's got a welder, which he's trying to learn how to weld.
He brought the equipment in. The equipment belongs to Dan. If Dan should leave the employment site, the equipment would go with him. Well, the resource ownership, what that is an individual brings something to the business. Sometimes it may be a piece of equipment that will assist the individual in doing their job better or easier.
I'm pretty much learning as I go. And my boss, Nate, he's like incredibly patient with me.
Nate obviously knows a lot of people in the community. I think he was very pleased with the program, saw benefit to the program, and how it has assisted his business.
So I think as a system, we're kind of moving forward. We're moving from that very linear process, step by step, to trying to incorporate more treating an individual who has a disability, who wants to increase their independence and go to work, more just like the rest of us go through that process in life.
Jared Arancibia, entrepreneur, video production.
So I'm doing freelance work, I'm doing local, regional, national work. My role in this project is that I'm helping you guys, Andy and Paul, out with filming different participants across the state of Ohio. I mean, for those of you, you might think my voice sound like, okay, why are you doing filming? But listen, it doesn't matter what kind of voice you have, what kind of disability you have. You can do whatever you want. It's your choice, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And those of you that have disabilities out there, if whatever goal you want to achieve it, please do, because it's very, very valuable that you do, because let me tell you this, it makes you happy. It really does.
The U.S. Department of Labor definition of customized employment states that individualizing the employment relationship between employees and employers in ways that meet the needs of both. It is based on an individualized determination of the strengths, needs, and interests of the person with a disability, and is also designed to meet the specific needs of the employer.
Customized employment, I can say without a doubt, in my 18 years with the state vocational rehabilitation, it has made me a much better counselor. The services that I provide to my consumers as a result of the training that I've received, and then in the extra time I've taken to learn more about customized employment, has allowed me to provide options or be creative in ways I never dreamed possible.
The idea is to think of this as a journey that has no finish line. The idea is to make sure we keep getting better as we go through this journey. And so when you come into difficult times, it means you got to start thinking outside of the box. This problem is not going to go away. And with resources at where they're at, you can't just think throwing money is going to solve these things. So it's not just an age thing, it's not just a gender thing, it's not just a generational thing. You're looking at folks from birth until the end of life that are going to need resources, services, and advocates. And I hope that in the future, our agency is going to be the one that they think of first when it comes to helping them achieve that.
Ohio Rehabilitation Services Commission. Learn more at rsc.ohio.gov. Griffin Hammis Associates, LLC. griffinhammis.com.